I'm going to start off with, hey, it's Nate.
Oh my god,
Oh
it's
my
Barry.
God.
It's Brian.
Welcome back to the Collecti-Bros podcast. Topic of the day is Hey You Pikachu. Hey You Pikachu is the first Pokemon spin-off and the first Pokemon console game. It was developed by Ambarella, later absorbed into Creatures, which is part of the Pokemon company. They actually made the Pokemon trading card game. Ambarella is known for making Pokemon spin-offs. That's all they really did until they were dissolved. So if you've heard of Pokemon Rumble, that's like kind of the big one they did. This was their first game they ever made. So it's released in 1998 in Japan, which is kind of crazy. That's when we first got Red and Blue here. We didn't get this game until 2000, so a little bit of a jump. Interesting aspect about this game is not only being the first Pokemon console spin-off, it had a built-in peripheral that you needed to play this game with. It was called the N64 Voice Recognition Unit. We'll be referring to that as VRU for the rest of this episode because that's just way easier to say.
It's a microphone.
I'm going to call it the mic.
It's a mic
I'm not talking about the microphone. I'm talking about the big block thing that you plugged into your controller port.
that you plug in the microphone.
Oh, the thing that's
The microphone
connected
plugs
to the microphone?
into, correct. They are separate features.
That's so stupid. It's the same thing. You can't use one without the other.
No,
Yeah.
When we get to that,
Is
so
the microphone holder a separate peripheral also?
let me get to that.
Oh, the plastic little clip.
So the VRU has language stored into it. It's 256 words in the US version. Think of that as like each one being a button mapped out in your controller. To access that button, you do use a microphone on this game. There's only 2 games for the N64's library that work with this unit. In America, this is the only game that actually works with it. In Japan, there's a train game. I'm going to butcher the hell out of pronunciation. Denshoudai Go 64, which translates to Go by Train 64, which is a game that they made since like the TurboGrafx. They just kept updating it for new consoles. So the 64 version in Japan, you can actually use the unit too. Obviously, with the language differences, it's different words than ours, so they are not universal. You can't use a Japanese one on an American console, etc. So it does not have the microphone in it. I don't know how the hell that works, but you don't need to use a microphone to play that game. Hey, you Pikachu, you absolutely do.
Wait, for the train one?
Yes.
So, okay. Is it read minds?
I don't know. You don't even need to play the game. That's what I'm saying. You
Oh,
to
just
use the
add it
VRU, you
to-
need the microphone. Yeah, you don't need
Okay.
you don't need the accessory to play the actual game. It's
Gotcha.
basically like a companion piece.
Okay.
Now for Hey You Pikachu, this is basically your controller. So you do use the N64 controller to navigate, but all of your prompts are going to be through your voice. So VRU is packed in with this game. It was kind of Nintendo back in the day when they used to be very experimental and stuff. It's kind of right on brand for that. You had to have the pack in to play this game. So after doing a little bit of research on the VRU, because I'm fascinated by weird peripherals and just pack-ins and stuff. Works better with high-pitched voices, which kind of explains a lot of our experience. So that's just a little bit of, just to give you a quick fill-in of the game. Let's go in depth on it. Alright, so being a Pokemon game, story is not exactly legendary here. It's pretty straightforward. So long story short, Professor Oak's invented a device called the Poke Helper. It can actually translate the English language into Pokemon, whatever it speaks, and you can befriend Pokemon with it and tell them what to do. So instead of him going out and studying Pokemon like a professor, he finds this kid, you, the player, and wants you to go find a Pokemon out in the woods and so he can study y'all's experiences, which is kind of weird. Like, you're part of the experiment too. Professor Oak's got like a whole fan fiction thing that's kind of creepy and stuff, but this kind of really leans into that. Honestly, it makes you wonder.
I was going to say it's like every Pokemon game, though. Like, was it Sword and Shield? The old guy's like, oh, yeah, I'm studying these things, but he doesn't know like anything about them. It's
Yeah.
every game now. It's like, hey, you got to do all the work while I get paid my, $100,000 salary.
This guy's smart enough to build a device.
They get paid in peach berries.
This guy's smart enough to build a device that can translate languages to animals that can understand it, but he can't like take notes on like, oh, Pikachu watered a plant today. Like, he needs you to do that. So anyways, yeah, it sends you out. Very quickly, you discover a Pikachu in the woods. Y'all end up bonding over a few, in quotations, days of gameplay, which is like 15 minutes. But he ends up moving in with you. So then your Professor Oak's like, great, like, easier to study. And your mom's like, come on in, Pikachu, like, whatever. You'll just live with us now. So as the story goes, you basically build your companion, your little friendship with them. It's set over a whole calendar year in gameplay days, which is not 1-to-1. It's about 4 hours, if anyone's wondering. 4.5. But
Depends on how long you gotta yell at them.
yeah, it depends on how ornery your Pikachu wants to be a serial killer or not. But so after that, Professor Oak's kind of like has a SeaWorld moment where he's like, damn, this is a living creature and it shouldn't be in captivity. Like, dog, you need to let him go.
As he's had it in your house, being, domesticated AF.
Doing trivia.
Yeah.
You're feeding it, watering him. So yeah, then he's like, after 365 gameplay days, he's like, you need to let him go. He's a wild animal. Like, we don't want a SeaWorld incident here. So
Says the man who made the Pokeballs to trap them.
Right.
to battle them.
Correct.
That's fine, yeah.
train child soldiers to go out and hunt these monsters, collect them, and fight each other. So you let him go out in the woods. You have like a little goodbye, and then you go back home. And kind of an interesting way to keep the gameplay going after the, in quotation, story is you like look in your yard and you have like a reminisce memory style, and that's how you continue your gameplay, is like your, in quotation, memories. So you can play after the story, which is kind of a unique way to build it, but there's not a lot to talk about with story here. That's basically the story in a nutshell here. There's not anything like events that happen that changed the plot.
I mean, there's like tiny mini stories with the games.
Yeah, but they're almost like gameplay too, you know what I mean? Like, that's not really like a narrative it's telling or anything.
You mean the epic Pokemon picnic?
Yes.
Isn't it breathtaking and the most emotional thing you've ever experienced?
Or, Bulbasaur's a chef. The Poliwags are lost.
And that
You gotta go find them, and
Yeah, there's just kind of levels, and you can keep doing it. They keep getting lost. They keep getting hungry. So
Magnemite will just take anything you give them, no questions asked.
the
yeah,
story's basically
Get
just
rid of dead bodies and shit.
smooth brain.
interacting with the world of Pokemon.
Smooth brain.
Smooth brain.
The story is basically just kind of interacting with the world and having Pikachu be able to understand you while the rest of the Pokemon just do their thing. Not a subject we're going to be able to dive too deep into. That's it in a nutshell.
Old Chrome Dome. No, so my biggest issue with the story was I haven't had the age-old question answered. Do you feed Pokemon with a bowl or do they eat at the dinner table? Like Mr. Mime in the animated series, Ash's mom just gives him a bowl, eats dog
Dude,
food.
Pikachu slept in your own damn bed. He's sitting at the table eating that food.
I hope. They never showed it.
Oh,
I was
no.
waiting for it.
My dog sleeps on my bed. I don't want that.
I'm
yeah,
pretty sure
there's-
the anime answered this. I'm pretty sure Pikachu ate off a plate.
Ash's mom
did.
gave Mr. Mime a bowl.
Yeah, the fan theory is that Mr. Mime was dating Ash's mom, and that's why he lives there, and he gets treated like a human.
So he's into like being treated like a dog.
He's into that weird.
Ooh.
I don't say weird. He's into that shit where he's like demasculine. Like, you're sitting on the floor eating, motherfucker, Mr. Mime. Like, that's wild, bro.
Ooh. Where the fuck? Oh. Hey, you Pikachu.
Anyway, sorry
Yeah.
about that deviation.
Yeah, but no.
Let's move on to gameplay. Okay, so as far as gameplay / controls, it's kind of an interesting one. We'll go over controls because it's very, very brief. You have your N64 controller with a thumbstick on it that controls your movement. Everything else is through your voice. So you hold the trigger to store up your voice command. When you release the trigger, the voice bubble shoots at Pikachu, and he tries to understand whatever you just, in quotations, recorded, and it does that command. That is how you control this game. That's pretty much all of the controls in this game. There is like a menu, like a storage item.
Yeah, sometimes a Pikachu will give you items, and you can give them back to him or store them in like a little tackle box kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's basically all the controls is you can open up your toolbox, you can talk to Pikachu, and you can walk around. It's not super complex here.
Other than that, there's the option where I think you hit the B button when you hovered over an item, and it would give you some flavor text about it, or maybe a hint sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think what that was supposed to be doing is trying to get people to recognize what the keywords were, but it wasn't very clear.
Yeah, because it would show like the flavor text, and then one word being like pink, I believe it was, and that was like kind of one of the words stored in the VRU that you could use to talk to Pikachu. Mixed results. After doing some research on the VRU, designed in mind with high-pitched voices, so trying to get more of children's voices recognizing.
Yeah, this game is very much geared toward a child, and that's probably why the story was so just lax. It's like, it's a kid who's supposed to be hanging out with his friend Pikachu. Like, that's the game. So for the gameplay to reflect a high-pitched voice for like a younger audience makes sense.
Yeah, it's definitely like this is a Pikachu pet simulator. It's not really like some riveting gameplay with an epic story. It tried to simulate that as best as it could with restraints of the time. So as far as... Go ahead, Brian, sorry.
I was going to say, it makes you wonder, like, this is kind of like during the Tamagotchi craze also, right? Mm. It's basically like a cart Tamagotchi with a microphone.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they were going for, I feel like. There's a little more than just kind of shoveling poop and feeding them. So the gameplay, you have these different zones, and in every zone there is, we'll just call them like arenas, because they're kind of like small levels you can navigate, but they're activities you can do with Pikachu. They were sorted by 3 different categories, which are, I guess you consider the difficulties of them. They weren't really any harder or easier. It's basically because kind of more involved or less involved. Your discovery days, your play days, and your daring days. There was just access to different parts of like however you exited your house. So you could go through like the front door, the side door, like the lawn, and those were you'd access those areas. And there are specific zones you could go to do different activities. And your gameplay consists of just picking an activity, doing it, and trying to progress that activity. There wasn't a set order you had to go in. Stuff would unlock as you progress and unlock more stuff. But once they were all open, you could go to any of them at any time. So we all kind of picked ones we liked or experimented a little bit with Pikachu to try to get him to do. Some of them worked great. Some of them, like, we didn't progress at all. And actually, those were the most hilarious ones we had. So each zone had 5 activities you could pick from. The play days actually had 6 you could pick from, but 3 of them were fishing. So there's just different lakes with different Pokemon you could catch and stuff with a little bit different animation. So
fresh and saltwater Pokemon. Just
yes, quite a varied body.
Stuff. I'll get deep diving into the fishing, don't you worry.
So I have all the activities kind of written down. If we want to just go over like brief kind of what you can do and different things, like show the gameplay differences or whatever. So the very first one we did was the Pokemon Picnic. So Bulbasaur is like apparently this 5-star chef, and you and Pikachu are just like little bitch minions that have to go grab food for him. So he gives you 3 ingredients that you got to find, and you get dropped into an arena. It's like a little wooded area, and there's like food scattered everywhere. You need to try to keep Pikachu's focus, walk around with them, tell him what to grab. Brian played this one first, and kind of just saw food, was like, grab it, bro. So he's like, potato, onion. None of the shit Bulbasaur actually told us to do.
Well, yeah, the thing is, like, you basically have just a bunch of shit on the ground, and it tells you, like, hey, ask Pikachu what that is. So you tell him what it is when he holds it up. And I guess I didn't pay attention initially. There's like a mini cutscene where Bulbasaur is basically giving him the 3 ingredients he wants to make for whatever. So I think it was like an onion, a carrot, and I don't remember what the third one was. So it wants you to go find these 3 specific items. But I just saw shit and was like, hey, pick it up. And it's like the way you get it back to the Bulbasaur is Magnemite.
I got Mr. Mime on your brain.
Yeah, I do now. Shit. You have to tell Magnemite, sure, not yes or no or take, just sure. So you're sitting there every time Pikachu holds something up and you're like, sure. And then, Magnemite comes down and old Crum Dome takes it away. But I was just trying to, my assumption was you have to like do it multiple times and like find the right ingredients, and it's kind of like RNG'd, but apparently everything was everywhere. So by the end of our first picnic session, we ended up having, was it mystery stew? Because I just literally have them grab everything, and then somebody passed out, didn't they? Or somebody threw up.
Pikachu and Charmander on the first one.
Yeah.
They both just like...
They didn't like our mystery stew.
No.
Yeah, so basically how you do... He wants 4 ingredients. You need 2 of one of them. He doesn't tell you which one. So you have to grab the 3 ingredients. If you do it right, there's a little feast and everyone's happy at the end of it. If you screw up and get mystery stew, everyone's kind of like dizzy-eyed and vomiting. And
ungrateful fucks.
That's kind of literally all that one does. So progressing it is literally just, it'll give you a new recipe every time.
They just
Everyone's
don't know
happy.
art, bro.
It adds a Pokemon or two. Like there's a Squirtle that pops up sometimes. Like, it's pretty random. There's not really a set thing, but that is pretty much how all of these go. You have a small objective in a small arena. There's variables to it, and you get a little cutscene to end it.
So my thing with this though, this one I feel like you can move around the most. This one and the Oddish one, but like moving around, you're kind of like hard locked on Pikachu. Like you can't literally move. It's kind of like just a camera, and
You could move later.
in certain ones,
Yeah.
Yeah, in certain arenas, there's a little more freedom on like the Poliwag one too and stuff.
yeah, I remember
Because
that.
I know, like, that one point we had the chase Pikachu. There was one level, the picnic one that was later that Nate did, that he had to run behind a tree and, like, tell Pikachu, like, come over here. So I think it was some of the earlier sessions, they did lock you to kind of like, try and teach you how to play the game without giving people too much control.
Because literally there was one point I saw the onion, but I couldn't like get over to it, and Pikachu was just wouldn't come to me. He was too busy picking up mushrooms. It was yeah, I could see how it gets easier if it gives you the right items that you're looking for. But there was, I mean, easy is the wrong word. It's not like it's difficult. It's just getting the Pikachu to cooperate.
Yeah, I don't feel like as far as difficulty goes with the game, it was like a skill level. It's kind of finding the correct word and the correct way of getting him to do the action. So like some of these ingredients you have to have Pikachu shock to cook. And sometimes he did it by himself, and sometimes you had to be very, very specific, like mushrooms. So he'd pick up the mushroom and be like Thunderbolt, and then he'd like try to shock you instead of the mushroom or something. So the difficulty comes from just doing exactly what the game wants, how the game wants it. Not like you know what you have to do, but you have to figure out the wording to use to be very precise.
Well, even then, like the last one we did was just wrong, even though we did everything right. Like Bulbasaur wanted 3 specific things for a specific dish. We got them all because the last one was fucking corn, and there was not a single goddamn corn on that thing except for behind the tree. And we got the corn, and we went back and we got all the right things, and it was like carrot stew. I'm like, that's not what we were trying to cook.
No.
We didn't even pick up a carrot.
There's definitely some jank. Like this does not translate 1-to-1, but
nobody died. But I mean, like it wasn't the recipe that Bulbasaur wanted, but it's still.
Oh, the death's yet to come. We'll get to
strange.
the death.
This specific arena kind of has the two. It's one of the more open ones. This is the first arena you can counter an Abra, where he can like, give you a shop later on. You can buy items that kind of help progress the game and buy little tokens for your room and stuff. But there's also a fun fact. You can buy a Togepi egg. It's the first Pokemon game with a Gen 2 Pokemon in it. He makes his appearance in here. It's pretty early in the timeline. But you get Togepi, who's in the anime and stuff. But
Togepi's also on the trivia mode too,
mm-hmm.
not just the egg.
Yeah, so he's like full on in the game with the name and everything.
Yep.
So, little fun fact, it's a first appearance of Gen 2.
Yeah, even when you mentioned name too, like it would have been. I feel like maybe if they were alluding, because when did this come out?
2000 here, 1998 in Japan, so Gen 2 was already out.
Did Pokemon 2000 have Togepi in it?
I want to say it did. Like
I feel like Misty had
Misty had him, yeah. Yep. Because he was on the cartoon fairly early.
Okay.
Before we got Gen 2.
Okay.
But Gen 2 was already out in Japan and stuff, right?
I don't know when Gen 2 came out, but in terms of like a North American audience, they could have just said like egg Pokemon and been like, what's this mystery Pokemon? But in the trivia, you said Togepi and he was like, you're right.
Yep.
So it recognized the name. They didn't try to hide the name or anything.
Which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I wonder what came first, Hey You Pikachu or the episode of the anime? I mean, I don't know how closely the anime followed the manga either.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I'm getting caught up on semantics, you know. Togepi was always a thing. Like, when it first came out and, like, Togepi was shown, we were just like, what the fuck is this?
Where the fuck is he at? How can I catch him? Yeah.
Nobody in their mind thought that there'd be a whole nother generation of Pokemon. We were just like, there's already 151 of them. Like, what? Now we have 152?
Yeah.
What's this Pokemon? And then they were like, Gen 2, take them all. And it started the slippery slope.
Like, there he fucking is, finally. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was like years later. It's interesting.
Yeah, I remember that first time. It was just wild to imagine, like, a new Pokemon?
Have to get a whole new poster. Remember these motherfuckers?
And now we got, like 1,000 of them? It's, like, no big fucking deal. But, like, yeah, I do remember, like, I mean, there's a lot of people who are young now, and this is not even really aside the point of Hey You Pikachu. But, like, there's a lot of young kids now who've never had that experience, but, like, Gen 1, seeing a new Pokemon for the first time was a big fucking deal. So I'm wondering, like, how weird that was for kids playing this game when they saw it on there for the first time. When he comes out the thingy with an egg and being like, "What the fuck kind of color egg is that? That's a weird colored egg."
I had an extra painted coat to that comment, like in 3D too.
Yeah.
Like this is before Stadium. This was the first 3D Pokemon game. So like,
Did Togepi hatch?
yes,
Okay, we didn't get to see the hatch part.
yeah.
We got
you
the
buy him-
egg,
you
we
buy
didn't
the
hatch
yeah. We
him.
didn't have him long enough to hatch because we didn't go back to Abra because he was like annoying to find. So
Yeah.
the one zone I really feel like we need to talk about, which kind of explains our experience in a nutshell. It's the mode called Field Trip. It's supposed to be like almost a free play zone where Pikachu kind of wanders around. You can interact. Like, it wants you to water Oddish. It wants you
Yeah, there's
to...
like a watering can.
There's little other Pokemon that will interact in the zone as you progress in it. And there's a Diglett that tries to like attack you and trip you. There's like a Charmander that comes to play with you. We got to talk about these Oddishes though. Barry, tell us about our experience with this level.
I can't. That's your experience.
I believe
You had the worst one. Mine was I got to see Charmander up on the hill being like, ah! And then we didn't see him after that. The rest of mine was just trying to...
Maybe I had it. I thought you had... Okay, so...
You did it first, and then
You had the crime scene.
We'll get to it, but you had the situation first. I came back around after being like, it can't be that bad, and it was,
So I picked this level because I was super excited. My favorite Pokemon's Gloom, and I guess all you water Oddish, you can evolve. I was like, I want to see Gloom. This is going to be... I'm going to go play with the Gloom. Like, I can talk to a Pikachu, but I'm going to go talk to this Gloom. So I eagerly picked this level. There's a watering can. It gives you like right off the bat, and you can fill it up and have Pikachu water Oddish. I'm like, that's how he's going to evolve. Bet. Watered an Oddish. It's like, cool. Pikachu like looks at the screen, like holding out the water can, like he wants me to hold it. I'm like, I'll go fill it up for you. Find out pretty quickly how to fill the water up again. Trying to get this fucking thing back to Pikachu, give it to him, and he's staring like you're fucking stupid. Just hold it back to you. So I'm like, no, keep watering Oddish. I was trying to get him like grow, because I wanted to see Gloom, who can turn into Vileplume later, which is pretty cool, but he was going to stay Gloom for me. Nope, Pikachu just does whatever the fuck he wants in this level.
you just set that watering can down.
You just go off wandering around.
Wander around. You pick it up and you give it to him, and he'd be like, Pika, and then it just looks sad.
So this was the first one I played, and I was like, man, if this is how this is all going to be, like, ooh, this is rough. Barry's like, oh, this can't be that bad, so hand the control off to Barry for the next day. We go back here, and Pikachu showed his ass.
I couldn't even get Pikachu to, water anything. You got Pikachu to water something once and fill the can up. I didn't get jack shit.
Under your watch, Pikachu committed fucking murder.
I don't think mine, not the first time. Pikachu did commit murder under yours.
It was under mine?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
All the shit went down under yours.
Maybe I was just trying to forget it, because So right, it was actually the level before we take him into the house, too, if you remember this, because, I think it's 4 levels you play, then he decides to move in with you, but I was apparently babysitting Pikachu in this Oddish zone. I was trying to get this fucking Gloom, so it's the second or third time I played this level, and I'm like, water him, motherfucker, Pika! Just shoots the shit out of a lightning bolt and fucking murders an Oddish in front of us. So we're just like, he just looks at us like he's all cutesy.
So some of the Oddish, if Pikachu gets too close or too fast or whatever, they'll pop out of the ground and run away, and Pikachu saw that as a fucking... I don't know. It was just like, haha, playtime, and zap the shit out of him.
So we're just sitting here watching this cold-blooded killer give us a thumbs up basically after murdering an Oddish, and it's like, oh, it's time to move in with you, and I'm like, no, he's a fucking murderer.
Well, you failed to
charred,
mention
burnt
that was
Oddish.
the least worst offense.
What's
The worst offense was when we were constantly trying to get Pikachu to water this fucking Oddish. Right? We'd go up to the Oddish, hand Pikachu the watering pail. And Pikachu would be like, what the fuck? He'd set it down. Because I don't know what the command was to get him to water it. So we'd give Pikachu the watering can and say, water Oddish. He set the watering can down, looked at fucking Oddish, and was like, that's a weird turnip. Picked the Oddish, picked the Oddish up, and then ate it. He ate the Oddish, and he did it 3 or 4 times. And the whole time we're trying to hit the little bubble button, yelling, no, stop, no. And he's just like, and just ate them. And then just moved on. No big fucking deal. Fucking ate the Oddish.
Just lived his life. Then they're like, hey, move this murdering fuck into your house with you. He's going to sleep in your bed. No. So this level, apparently you can evolve Oddish all the way up to a Vileplume. We never experienced that because we could not get him to water shit. So...
Our Pikachu was just a fat bastard.
This actually goes with my theory. I was going to save it for graphics, but this Pikachu is very bipedal. It's a man in a suit, just getting around eating Oddishes.
He is a man in a suit, yeah.
This is a kid that escaped, an orphanage, but he was, murdered his parents and wound up at the orphanage and, escaped, took a Pikachu costume, moved out in the woods, and you adopt him.
It's Orphan.
Who has a thing for onions.
It's the movie Orphan.
Yes, where it's like
Pikachu's only like 30.
instead of like psychic demon powers, he has electric powers. Yeah. But apparently there's an Oddish in this level. Like I didn't get to see this because we couldn't get him in the water. But one of the little Easter eggs in this level, you can water this one Oddish 10 times, and he just grows into like a Godzilla-sized Oddish, and can walk around the map.
That's pretty dope.
It would have been great to see, but
See him get 8.
he probably got.
He would have got 8. Yeah, he wouldn't
Probably
even
got
have the
fucking 8.
opportunity.
So there wasn't really an objective in this level. It's more of like a free play level where you kind of like watch Pokemon come in the arena and you can interact with them. But we didn't even get to really experience that because Pikachu went fucking rogue, which was like honestly was the funniest moment of us playing this game. Like it's the one we picked the least because we just couldn't get shit to happen in it. So we weren't really earning any points for playing it. We weren't progressing. So I'll say the one that we did progress fairly well in. Brian, you're a fishing expert, so I'll let you handle fishing. You want to kind of explain how the fishing gameplay works?
Yeah, so you basically select your lake or saltwater area. Pikachu is like, hey, let's fish here. Like, clearly, what else are we going to do? Grabs his rod, throws it in the water. It basically goes up and down vertically across the body of water, and it'll give you a command to yank, which is when he's close. You want to yank it up, obviously. Hold on. If it's a big one, it'll move around more. And then what was the other one? It was like pull. Yeah. I think you had to say like something like 3. There was one phrase that was like 3 words, like pull it up or yank it. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it wanted a 3-word phrase, which comes into importance of the gameplay in a little bit. But I mean, at first it's pretty trivial. You're catching these small Magikarp and they just stay right by the bank, so you just pull them in. You just say pull and he's going to reel them in. The larger ones, they move around more, and whatever that phrase was, I think it was like yank it up or pull it. I don't remember what it was. But by the time you could like register saying that and let go of the word bubble and it would get to Pikachu, it would already be in a different area and it wanted you to say pull. So there was times where it was like really easy just to get a fish, but if you wanted some of the big ones, you had to like almost pre-fire, if you will. But I mean, it's trivial for what it was. It was kind of enjoyment when I think we got a big Sea King, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it was like, I don't want to say lag, because that's not really what it was.
Yeah.
Like the time between you speaking and the bubble going to Pikachu and the game registering what you said, the fish would already be doing something different. So in order to like counteract that, you would have to kind of guess the next move that you'd have to do after what the original one was. So like half the time I feel like if it was up at the bank, we would just be like pull, because by the time that word actually gets to Pikachu and registers, the fish has already gone out further, so you have to say that to pull it back. It was so weird.
You'd like pre-fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the easiest setting it worked fine because they weren't really pulling, but when you were like trying to catch your teeny, like not happening.
Mm-hmm.
But there's several times like I could actually get a fish when I knew it was drifting towards Pikachu. I would be like yank it, and by the time I let go of the trigger, he was at the bank and Pikachu would just reel it in automatically.
Which obviously we don't speak Japanese, so we can't play the Japanese version, but one of the regional differences is the bubble in the Japanese version only forms when you're specifically addressing Pikachu to do like, not an action, but when you're like, hey Pikachu, da-da-da, that's when the bubble forms. So in the Japanese version, there's no bubble. I almost wonder if like the fishing would be like less delayed in the Japanese version or not. Like obviously I didn't get to play because I cannot speak any Japanese, but just an interesting note.
Oh, are you saying if you say, hey, Pikachu, that starts it registering what you're saying?
Not, it just goes. Like the Japanese version, like if you write potato, it's just, you don't have to like order word bubble.
Interesting.
He just reacts instantly to it. So it's like, it plays a little different.
You could just be like, Yush! He reels it in instantly.
Yeah.
Yakuza.
Yes. So the fishing one's pretty straightforward, but this is a fishing game technically. People like Brian out there
need it.
A couple more arenas. There's a little lost Poliwag one you had to do also. You basically are in a maze swamp. There's a Squirtle that's looking for little lost Poliwags. You got to run around.
A what?
A Squirtle?
I thought you said a squirrel.
Squirtle.
Oh, I was like,
the turtle Pokemon.
What happened?
The starter.
Squirtle.
Yes, that one.
Is it good?
That was great. So early on in this stage, it's literally just wandering around kind of like a 3D maze. Brian played this one, navigating kind of tough. Or was it easier?
No, it wasn't bad. There's like a Silent Hill 2 amount of fog, so that's why it's blocked out. But,
I wonder why they're scared.
Yeah. No, it's the funny part is like it doesn't tell you that like you're supposed to get them all in one go. So I was like, oh, I'll just deposit the ones I have because they follow you around like idiots, and Pikachu tries to point them out on like different paths. So Pikachu kept drifting off by himself with the little ones following him. So I was like, I'm gonna drop him off to apparently Squirtle, who's gonna hold him, but I tried to deposit them, and it ended the level. That's my only beef.
Yeah, Squirtle was like, "Oh, I see you got 2. I guess I'll go get the other 2."
The
Just
other
go
ones just have
home.
to survive the
Yeah.
night.
Before you fucking eat them, you monster.
Hopefully the gators don't get them. Yeah.
And weren't they like running away from like a polyrath or something? Like,
Something was getting
There's a haunter.
oh, it was a haunter.
Yeah,
Okay.
and, like if the haunter shows up, he tries to like scare him away from you. You have to tell Pikachu to shock him to like get him to go away. Which
Okay.
good luck with that because Pikachu does whatever the fuck he wants most of the
Pikachu
time.
will just fucking eat him.
Yeah,
Pikachu's like the meme that points. He's like, "Ooh," the whole time. He's like, go down there, go down there. And you're like, come on, Pikachu. Like, you try to tell him, like, come on. And he's like, go down there the whole time. So that's why I just tried to deposit the 2 I had.
Yeah,
I
we
think I
didn't
had
play
2
this
left.
One. We didn't play this one very much because it was
Yeah.
kind of a shit show. But it was entertaining for what it was because it was like not because it was well designed, but because it was probably not well designed.
I will say, movement-wise, though, this one probably had the most amount of freedom. Like, I got pretty damn far away from Pikachu at one point, but I found another Poliwag, and I was trying to get Pikachu to, like, come and take it, but I was too far away for him to be like, it's like, Pikachu wants you to come back. No, Pikachu, I want you to come to me. Like,
Yeah, I think you could try to register like Pikachu come here, but the game would say like Pikachu's too far.
this one was the most philosophical for sure. It was like, are you the pet or is Pikachu the pet?
Oh
You know,
my god.
this one got story-wise. This one had the most compelling narrative.
Barry played this next one. This is the Pinata game. You want to talk about this
Bro.
one a little bit?
So there's a fucking pinata on the beach, and there is a half circle made out of rocks. It's like a ring around this pinata. Someone's holding. Is it Lapras that's holding it up or something?
Venusaur's hosting this event.
But someone's holding the pinata.
I think it is a
up.
Lapras.
Is it a
yeah.
Lapras?
Yeah.
So Pikachu gets put in this half circle arena, blindfolded with a stick, and just starts walking. Just starts walking towards it. So the first one's not too bad because Pikachu just walks a straight line to the pinata, and all you can do as a player is like move outside the arena in like a ring. You can't really go inside, and since it's a half arena, you don't have a 360 view of this pinata, and the depth perception in this game is like awful.
It is especially awful in this arena. Yeah.
So what you're supposed to do is travel around and tell Pikachu like not that way or stop or move more left, further right. And then once you give him, I can't remember exactly what the word was, but it was some kind of phrase like right there, he would swing his little stick trying to hit the pinata. But the delay, you'd have to tell him right there like 2 seconds before where you wanted him to actually hit because he'd still keep walking. So we got the first pinata hit fine. And then the second one, it was like, all right, here's the real challenge. And they do the thing where they throw Pikachu in the middle of the arena and spin him around like a little kid. It's like, spin him around. And then he just walks in a random direction. And somehow you have to like tell him to move around to get to this pinata. And it's impossible. It's so difficult.
It usually is with him being embarrassed, eating ass, and getting pissed off. Like,
Yeah, because he's like wearing Ash's hat. And
Yes.
so if he misses, a singular, you have one shot. It's not like multiple hits. You get one shot. If he misses, he just like, I don't know, beats the sand and throws Ash's hat out. And
there's a temper tantrum and
yeah.
like wanders off.
Yeah.
No proof.
So this is like, to me, this was like absolutely the shortest one. The other ones, you get like a couple minutes of gameplay before the day, in quotations, days ends. This one's like one swing you missed, you're done. And it just sends you back home and you're like, damn, that was fast. So like you can really fly through the days if you just like milk the pinata game. But it was kind of hilarious watching Pikachu bite ass and throw a temper tantrum. Like, and Venusaur's just standing there with like his mouth open, like, like.
Yeah, and then you get a bottle cap as a consolation prize, or a bottle cap, or a bottle plastic
It's a bottle
ring,
cap, yeah.
something like that. So now Pikachu just brings home a piece of fucking trash.
Yep.
I'm like, thanks
Thanks,
Pikachu.
dude.
Even though on my session I hit a pinata open, I didn't get anything for it except a piece of fucking trash.
And Venusaur's like hype. He's like super hype for it. It's a piece of trash, bro. Chill the fuck out. Like,
Man, it was some bullshit.
so yeah, another real quick fun fact. Japanese version, pinata game's completely different. Pinatas aren't probably super popular in Japan. It is a mini game called Sukawara. Doesn't quite explain how it works, but it's similar in action. We have to have Pikachu navigate and move and then pick an object instead of swing a pinata stick. So, and then weirdly, I don't know like it's more relevant in Japan or not, but it's pop tabs instead of like bottle caps in the Japanese version.
I think it's the plastic ring that goes around like the milk. Like when you crack
Yeah.
open a gallon of milk and it's got that plastic ring left over.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're just like fucking Americans with their goddamn milk and plastic
Right.
jugs.
Cats like that
Yeah,
shit.
to be clear, it's not the actual like fucking cap. It's like the
It's the plastic
It's the-
trash ring.
yeah. which is like even more hilarious. But
Just pulls it out the sand.
and you're playing with the water, so like if it got away, like Lapras' neck could get stuck in that. And Lapras would be
I don't
dead.
know why they changed it to that instead of a soda tab, because like we have those.
I know,
too.
it is interesting.
It's very odd that that was one thing that they changed.
Then the last one, I don't even think we saw because we didn't click it. But
Which one was it?
it's another open. It's called Treasure Hunt. Basically, it gives you like find the box, and there's like little dirt mounds. You got to Pikachu to guess to dig up, and if you find it, you take that item home, and it goes in your room. It's literally all it is.
Oh, I don't even see that. Remember that one being available?
It was available. We didn't click on it. There's
Missed
a
opportunity.
Slowpoke that watches you and just goes like the whole time. Like it's actually.
Damn, I wish we would have clicked it
I
now.
looked at
Right.
gameplay. It's pretty hilarious. Like Pikachu like walks as slow as he does for the pinata.
Oh,
And you have to like
Lord.
similar to the food one. We have to like walk over the food and tell him like this hole, and he like takes 3 minutes to walk over there. He like trips and throws temper tantrums and shit while he's doing it. So yeah, that's all the activities in this game, and you just kind of keep replaying those to progress through your days and kind of advance. It throws in new little wrinkles for each one as you progress through them. And then you can use the points you earn for beating those levels to buy stuff from Abber's shop to either decorate your room, change a little bit of cosmetics and stuff. But that's all the gameplay in this game. This is all you'll be doing. Even after your post-credit scene when you're reminiscing, this is what you'll be doing. That's everything this game offers.
Say don't forget.
There was the Caterpie one.
Oh, yeah, I had that one right
The
now. so I think I
Caterpie
skipped
one.
it.
There's also the trivia that you can do in the house.
I was going to bring up the trivia because you made an interesting observation about that one.
It's the only thing that functions right.
That and it's basically, for disclosure, it's like it's an N64 hooked up to your TV, right? Or Super Nintendo, was it? I don't remember. which one.
That's a regional difference. So in Japan, it's a Super Nintendo. Our
Right.
version's an N64.
Yeah, so you go up to it and it like basically puts a Pokemon on the screen and you have to say its name.
It's the same
It's
thing
who's
as
that
the
Pokemon?
it's the
Yeah.
anime intermission where it's
Yep.
like, who's
that
that
Poke-
Pokemon
yeah.
with a little silhouette, and then you name it.
But yeah, we don't know how many Pokemon there were, but Barry made the observation that, hey, if this thing has 250 words in it, how many of these are fucking Pokemon?
Because I've seen some videos of Pokemon that didn't come up when I did it, because it gives you 10 of them. So I'm just like, are there 4 or 5 different variations of that? Because that's 50. That's 50 by itself. And then Pikachu fucked me over.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Like, I knew every single one of those Pokemon. I don't remember which one it was. I think it was Slowpoke.
Do you remember the funny part though? It
It was-
didn't say that you got it wrong. It
It's
said
Slowpoke.
Pikachu pushed the wrong button.
I was getting there, Brian.
Cut it out. I'm sorry.
No, I told him it was like, what's this Pokemon? And Pikachu like spins around and looks at you because he's holding the controller and he's looking at you for the answer. I was like, Slowpoke. He turns back around and it was like, Pikachu hit the wrong button and he was all pissed. So I like lost a point. I'm like, you little shit.
Again, him holding the controller. More proof.
It's true.
He's
Uh,
domesticated.
Because he's a person in a suit.
I apologize. I did
Orphan
scroll
2.
past the Caterpie one. We can go over that really quick.
It was boring. We don't have to.
It was-
The Caterpie gets sick. You have to find an item.
Let
and
me
give it
guess,
to
you
him.
talk to Pikachu and he doesn't listen to you.
Yeah.
Butterfree leaves you in charge of all these babies, and you have to like feed them. We got to work kind of well. Apparently, if you keep playing it, they evolve into Metapods and eventually into Butterfrees, and it gets
Interesting.
super crazy because like the Butterfrees fly around super fast, and they turn purple when they're like starving and you need to feed them.
Dude, that one was annoying because they'd be purple, and then like Pikachu would just go off and do his own shit, and then I have to find this berry. But the only way to get a berry down from the tree was to tell it to shock it, and the whole time Pikachu's just jumping. I'm like Thunder Shock, and he's like, trying to get it. I'm like, fucking shock it.
Yeah, we would get like 2 or 3 fed per time we played. You need to feed it like 6 to 9 times in one setting to get it to evolve. So there's like, I don't see how the fuck anyone could do that. Because Pikachu went rogue.
Cheats.
Yeah, no shit. So
Game Shark.
that's literally that one. Like it's very brief. The arena's super small for that one too. It's a circle, and they're all just kind of crying and turning purple. And
And you've got weird Caterpie noises happening around you constantly.
so yeah, I apologize. That's all of the game modes in this game. So don't forget that one. They did change some of the food that you can give the Pokemon for regional differences. Like we have cupcakes in our version.
There's Zonagiri, yeah.
Yep. So it's interesting. That's a little more than a few regional differences. All Pokemon games, they all sound different. They make different noises in Japan because they don't translate to saying their names like they do here. So that's in every single Pokemon game in Japan. And then the last regional difference that I could find was the name of the game is actually different in Japan. It is a play on words, kind of like ours is Hey You Pikachu. Theirs doesn't directly translate, but it basically, in a sense, is a wordplay of Pikachu's all right, but it's like a QT rhyming version like ours is too. So Fun fact. So after that riveting gameplay, let's move on to the graphics.
Here's the thing. I have a theory. There's
Man in a suit.
Yes, it's like Pikachu's all right. It's like, is he though? Is he all right?
Skinned. Some fucking dude wearing them.
All right, here's what we mean by Pikachu's a man in a suit. Pikachu is a rat. Pikachu's hind little legs he should move like a rat. Little steps, whatever. We've seen rats stand on their hind legs before. They look like real little rat legs. They don't stretch out. Now, in this game, when Pikachu starts walking, he will just lift his whole body off the ground and move his legs like fucking Godzilla. They look like Godzilla legs.
He's got some length. If you look at every Pikachu, he stands on his feet and there's no like leg. He's got like his lower body and his foot is flat, where he lifts it up straight. He's got like length.
He's got a whole like actual leg attached.
It's like a full stride, like a human walk.
It's a trunk.
Trunk.
Yeah.
Godzilla. I think Godzilla's
trunk.
good.
It's like he doesn't have thighs, but he's got like shins.
It's like take the modern Pikachu that we know of now, where it's the cute little blob on the bottom, like Brian said, with the little foot sticking out, and just add a thick leg in between that foot and the body, and that's what it is in this game. So,
Creep me out the whole
Pikachu's a
time.
man in a suit, and he gives himself away when he walks. When he runs, it's normal.
But hey guys, Pikachu's all right. Wink, wink.
Yeah, we had to create a lot of our own fun with this game. So I thought overall, like, this being... You gotta remember, we're kind of spoiled. We're used to 3D Pokemon games now, but this was like the first full 3D Pokemon game, which is a pretty cool thing. Back then, it had to be kind of mind-blowing. Like, I remember seeing the commercial for this game as a kid. I didn't have an N64 growing up. It's like, dude, this looks awesome. It's 3D Pokemon. Like, how amazing.
Was it Pokemon Snap?
Stadium, Snap. Those are the N64 ones, right? There's a Stadium too.
So was it Hey You Pikachu, Snap, and then Stadium?
I think it was Stadium first. Let me double check.
Okay. So wait, when did Hey You Pikachu come out in North America?
2000. That gets so confusing when the regions are so far in between. The Stadium was very like, the characters were 3D, but your background was pretty flat. You could spin the camera, but that's about it. This one actually had like full on environments you could walk around in and stuff, you know? So it wasn't the first 3D Pokemon game we got, but it was the first like with a 3D world you could interact with and stuff. I remember being really impressed with the commercial. Obviously, waited 20-something years to play it. Wasn't that impressed with the graphics now, but I think the character models looked pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, the other Pokemon that you interact with, they all look serviceable. The game does have that just N64 look. Like, as soon as you see it, you're like, yep, it's a 64 game, which I don't necessarily agree with knocking. It's a product of the time. I will say some of the environments and the worlds are pretty flat and not great. You can definitely tell they put much of their effort into like animating Pikachu himself. He's the most animated, even like his facial expressions change. It's not the same model from Stadium that they just brought over. I don't think any of the Pokemon were, honestly. I think the Stadium models look better. Interestingly enough, they have some like, oh, there's those legs, man. Look at that. Yeah, it's like he's got like a kneecap, like it's bent, like it's so hard to describe. Just Google it, like it's crazy looking. But
yeah, definitely most of the budget went to Pikachu, and like you were kind of saying, you can tell when he's talking, like speaking his mood and stuff. They did a really good job of giving him expressions.
Yeah, even the other Pokemon though, they would be semi-expressive, like their face. But I remember in Stadium, it was like they would stand there and kind of like fighting game stance and kind of wobble, and then they would do the move, and that would be the animation. But they seemed a little more like life and expressive in this. But clearly everything went to the Pokemon themselves though, because some of the environments were not. Even the onion, like it didn't really look like an onion.
Some of the items, yeah, maybe, but I feel like the environments were pretty decent. This house especially was really good.
Yeah, interior was nice.
The house was really good. Some of the ones where you had to traverse like hills, it wasn't smooth because it's 64 polygons. But they put the most time into Pikachu and his expressions and the way that he moved. And then if you compare like Pikachu's movements to someone like Charmander would just kind of come up and then just do the action figure move where his arms didn't really move and his legs didn't really move, but he'd walk. Or like Magnemite was easy where they just floats.
Yeah, and especially with, like, Butterfree had wings, so his wings flapped and stuff, and they kind of moved, but Magnemite just zoomed.
Yeah.
I
So
will
I mean,
say,
like,
not to the point of Pokemon Stadium though.
Right, no,
Like,
it's a lot better in Stadium.
No, I mean, I'm sorry, yeah, Stadium, but Snap, like they're much more fluid and Snap. Like Barry said, they're almost like action figures that they like moved pins on.
I mean, and it could be to the fact that it does have to generate.
Right.
It's not like, because Pokemon Snap, I feel like it's almost like a rail shooter
On a
type
rail,
game.
Yeah.
And so it's going to generate exactly what it needs to generate when it needs to generate it. But now we're in almost like an isometric platformer type. It has to generate things as you move. So it's a little less smooth, and there's a bit more things in there like you have to interact with, because a little hand icon cursor has to run around and like select things, and Pikachu's off doing his own shit, like not on what do you call those? A script.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, the character models on some of the bigger ones, like Lapras and Venusaur, are really good too.
Yeah. Like, honestly, it's easy to knock 64 games for the graphics. I think this one's, like, I've seen far worse 64 games. I don't think anything in here was, like, revolutionary for the time, but, like, I would say overall this was good graphics.
For Pokemon's first 3D game, I think this was done really well.
Yeah. Like, I'll praise the graphics here for a moment. I think it was kind of fun. Even now, we're used to seeing 3D Pokemon, but watching, like, Pikachu eat that Oddish was, like, very fun. It was almost like going to the zoo and, like, seeing, like, just watching Pokemon in, like, a whole environment. It's still pretty cool little experience, even though it's, like, clearly dated, but
yeah, I mean, for honestly, like, I would be, there's 64 graphics, that's what it's gonna be, but the core of this game is Pikachu. And so if we just got a Pikachu that would walk, would stand, would have a happy face and a sad face, like, that would be subpar. But we got Pikachu with his ears drooping when he was sad. We got Pikachu laying down when he was sick and, like, passed out. We got sleeping Pikachu. We got sick Pikachu. We got mad Pikachu. We got confused Pikachu. And, like, all of his movements and his facial expressions, like, were very indicative of those emotions. And so they put a lot of time and money into making Pikachu the star of the show, and it did come off exceptionally well. The other ones are just kind of like supplements of the game as characters, so they didn't need as much expression. But this game being about Pikachu and being his friends, it was executed, I don't want to say perfectly, but to a very high standard.
Yeah, you could tell how you were doing in the level based on how Pikachu's, like, was reacting to what was going on.
And it, like, wasn't a question of what is that reaction or what is that expression. It was pretty clear.
I'll say if you put it in terms of, like, other things around, like, think of the Tamagotchis, it's like it has a heart on its head. Oh, it's happy. Like, you could just look at this thing and clearly tell it's happy, like it's smiling. I think that's cool. It's like the next step of it.
Just don't call it an electric rat or he gets pissed, zaps you. But even then, that was like a fun little animation to watch him get pissed off. Yeah, I think graphics overall were, like, very good. They did what they pretty much could and executed well, so never thought I'd say it's for a 64 game, but, like, hats off. Pleasant surprise overall with the graphics, honestly. Let's move on to sound. So from, pleasantly surprising to not a whole lot to talk about here at the sound in my estimation. The one thing I will give credit to for the sound design is there's some nice little remixes of music from Pokemon Red and Blue on here, but you kind of hear a lot of the same songs pretty quickly.
Agreed.
Pikachu's voice sounds good. The Pokemon's voices sound good. Bulbasaur sounds like Bulbasaur.
Yeah, they're not like a Game Boy, like, fucking kind of muffled.
Yeah, they're like anime style
Yeah.
Pokemon voices. So.
Which is nice, but
I'm also thankful for there's no "mar mar mar mar" in the text.
hey, you know what? That's true.
Oh, for the humans
Yeah,
talking.
yeah.
It's just, yeah, scripted. There's not actually a voice there's not actually voice recordings, which is funny in a game based on voice, but
And then it'll do sound effects. Like, I think there's a little, like, grass walking noise when you walk around.
There's a pitter patter on the docks when you're getting the Poliwags. Yeah.
yeah, I don't think sound was quite the focus here. It's funny in a game based on sound, but as you're formulating your sentence or phrase to tell Pikachu, there's like a bubble filling and a bubble popping noise when you let go of the trigger, and that's the noise you're going to hear more than anything, is because you're kind of yelling at Pikachu to get him to do shit. So the music's in the background. It's not over loud. It's not too soft or too loud. It's kind of mixed fine, but I don't think there's anything noise that I was like, that's really clever, or like that really put me in the environment, but it was serviceable. I'm not going to go on my way to shit on it, but it was serviceable. Like, nothing really memorable, nothing horrible though.
I feel like the sounds weren't bad. Like they functioned for what they needed to do. It wasn't like when you walked into an environment and like you were doing things and the only sound you got was Pikachu saying Pikachu and the popping of the bubble and maybe like I don't know, Pikachu pulling an acorn out of the ground. Like there was the song playing in the background. There was when you were walking and Pikachu would walk, there'd be other little noises and whatnot. Or maybe when you were in another level, like a Butterfree would call out of nowhere. Just kind of like ambience almost. But like Nate said, it wasn't like changing the landscape of sound mixing for video games of any kind. Like, I don't think creating a banger soundtrack was their first priority for this game. The core of this game is really the gameplay. So the sound functioned. The sound wasn't bad.
I'll use the word adequate.
I'm not going to go on Spotify and try to find the Hey You Pikachu soundtrack because it's just not
Which, like, the Red and Blue soundtrack are boss by themselves. I don't need remixes of them. So, like, almost a chip tuning style of them works better for me and for the type of music it is. But that sounds fine.
I do appreciate the fact that when they did put new Pokemon in, they did give them a voice.
Yeah.
Instead of just being a text box that popped up, because there was a text box when, like, Squirtle would try and talk to you, but he would also have his little Squirtle voice.
Yeah, when they were speaking English to you through the VRU, it was like text box, but when you were like interacting in the environment, they went back to speaking Pokemon.
Yeah, so we didn't have to get Bulbasaur going, Bulbasaur, but like we got it, so.
And it was hard. Watching Pikachu in the sand bite ass and like throw his temper tantrum and Venusaur being like, like, it's pretty awesome, so.
Yeah, in a weird way, your voice is more of the sound than anything. So if you like your voice, you'll like the sound for this game. If you hate your voice, you're not going to enjoy it.
Let's move on to the collectability aspect of this game. All of us are Pokemon fans at the table, so I feel like we can all kind of contribute to this conversation pretty well. Brian, let's hear from you. What are your thoughts on the collectability aspect of this game?
First, you want to go over like what it's worth and everything?
I guess I should, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Quite possibly. So it's pretty interesting price-wise. So, don't know why you want to buy just a cart since you need the VRU and the microphone to play and stuff. But if you just want a cool cart on your shelf, get this very cheap. We're talking like $8 to $10. The reason why I think it's that much, honestly, because it's Pokemon, because it's Pikachu's on it. I've seen this shit as low as $5 just for the cart. Like I said, can't do anything with that. So I kind of have a different category than normal. I have a cart plus, which is the cart with the VRU and microphone.
Like bare minimum to play the game.
Yeah, to play the game.
Yeah.
You're looking anywhere from $40 to $60.
Okay.
And you're not going to really find a VRU by itself because it was bundled with this game, and the microphone only really, this was like the only game they used it
I
on.
have seen it, and then majority of the time I've seen them without the microphone.
Yeah, that's missing because it's tiny. It's so easy to lose. Like,
and I think isn't it a specific jack?
Yep.
It's like a proprietary microphone for this unit. It's not like you can just plug a 3.5 millimeter
Correct.
jack into it.
Yeah, no way Nintendo would do that.
Yeah, right. Oh, wait, that's Sony.
Hell, it's everybody now. Microsoft, even with the stupid memory thing, it's like, that's proprietary. So fuck all three of y'all.
Yep.
Don't want to leave them out either. So, to say cart feels like cheating, but let's say cart plus. You're spending $40 to $60 if you want to be able to play this game. Now, complete in box is where it gets really interesting. Of note, with all the pack-ins in, this is a unique size box. So,
it's the same size as I believe Star Fox and Pokemon Coliseum.
it is a touch
Stadium.
bigger than Star Fox.
Is
What
it?
Stadium? The Stadium had the Game Boy transfer.
It's wider than Stadium, but it's shorter. It's really weird. I have all three of these, and they're all.
Okay, yeah, I want to see them side by side because that looks like the Star Fox size to me.
It does on the eye test, but when you hold it next, it's like, oh, it's barely
Interesting.
bigger. Yeah, so I have a protective case for mine, and I had to order like its size specifically. So, because I had the Star Fox and Pokemon Stadium too, and it doesn't fit in those. There's like a slight difference.
Okay.
So, just a quick sign that the Japanese version box is completely different. It's gigantic. It's like the size of this PlayStation Mini almost.
I mean, the Hey You Pikachu North American one is about equivalent of the size of two N64 boxes.
That's a good guess.
Sandwiched together.
Mhm.
That's about what it is. And then I don't even know what the Japanese size. The Japanese size is like two of those.
When it's vertical is the thing. The Japanese box is more vertical, or the American NTSC box is horizontal. So,
And
interesting note.
in classic Japanese fashion, all of the actual like trays, it is plastic. It's not like a cardboard tray of any kind. So when you pull it out of that box, it is plastic, just like they did with Famicom.
Yeah, which is a lot nicer. I wish we would have got that because
Yeah.
this thing's really hard to get back into packaging.
Yes.
Like mine is pretty squished back into the protector after playing this. But just a quick note: so completing boxes all over the place on this game. I went back the last 4 months and tried to get averages because I saw completed sales as low as $90 and as high as $200.
Okay, well, are we including, because like we have to talk about what's inside of it too. Like not
Sure.
only do you have the game and the, what is it called, VMU? VMU is Dreamcast.
Yeah.
The game and the VRU plus the microphone that goes onto it, because they're two separate pieces. You also have the manual.
Clippy thing.
You've got the manual for the VRU because that has a specific insert. And then there's another insert and then an ad, which Nate didn't have the ad, but I have that one.
Right, and there's like a Pokemon 2000 ad, I think.
Yeah,
And then
so I think that
there's a clippy that you can clip the microphone
Yes.
onto. So
there's a little plastic, it almost looks like a little bracelet where
Yep.
you wrap it around the memory card portion of the 64 controller, and then you can mount the microphone on top of it so it sticks up while you're playing it.
Let's add more useless plastic to the 64 controller.
So, which honestly, the little clippy thing's kind of nice.
it is convenient. So you don't have to sit there and hold the microphone.
Right.
Like, so that did affect pricing, and it's very hard to get like an average price. I went back the last 4 months and got an average around $115, and this is basically
That seems about right.
everything with a
Yeah.
box, everything with now like the super mint ones with like every insert, everything. We're closer to 200 than 120. So
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it in that terms, it's a game with a lot of parts that were made for children who are probably the ones playing it. Especially like, I mean, and I'm sure those mint ones had nice little foam toppers for the microphones. And let's
Yep.
not talk about the fact that the microphone little foam top can come off.
yes,
So, and if you have yours intact, most of the time they are squished to a certain size and will never retain their shape again, or
Yeah.
they're like horribly discolored somewhere.
if it's not completely squished, there's definitely one side squisher being pressed in the box for so
Mhm.
long. So like
Or
it's
someone's
very
cat got a hold of it and there's tooth marks in it.
right. It's very hard to find like an extremely clean copy of this game. And then the box being bigger, got stuff pushing out of it almost. There's holes in a lot of copies of this
Mhm.
game. So I found the average around $115 to $120 after going back 4 months and kind of factoring holiday prices and stuff too. And like I got the average around 120. This I'll say comfortably $120, which that's kind of the price point we'll use today. But just keep in mind there's errors variable. So if you get online right now and you're like, what the hell, it's $200, like look at the condition, look at what's in it. It's complete. There's also like we get a cardboard tray kind of thing that's a separator divider in our
Mhm.
version. So those went for a lot more if you have that because it's its own size. You can't use a universal N64 one.
Yeah, like when Nate and I are comparing ours, like I don't have the little plastic thingy. Nate does, but there's a portion of his broken just because the plastic wasn't great quality when they came out. And then he's got the little cardboard divider, but like I don't, and it's a hot mess inside that box. But then I've got the 2000 ad that like he doesn't have. So like trying to piece anything together is damn near impossible.
Yeah, good luck if you have a partial complete one.
And then if you end up doing have a complete one, like the chances of that being an immaculate are low, in my opinion. I
Yeah.
don't see this often
That's why they
as
sell
it
for
is.
$200 when they are.
Right. And when I do see it, like both of our boxes got something wrong with it. Like mine looks great from the front. I got a rip on the back.
Mine
It's
looks
not
great
that
from the
big.
back, not so great from the front. I mean, it doesn't look bad. It's got some scuff on it.
But I feel like that's always how it is with big box N64 specifically. Not talking about just normal standard 64 because the cardboard is like a thinner cardboard on a
Yeah.
regular complete size box, but the big box ones are a thicker cardboard and somehow they get damaged all of the time. Or like the tape that they use to seal these games up, if they ever had tape on them and you need to unseal your game or open
Eating
it
that
up,
shit.
that tape is ripping it off. You're not going to get anything off of that tape.
It is thicker cardboard, but like it's puffier, if that makes sense. So it's like more prone to getting popped or like ripped off. It's
The
weird.
surface
It's-
isn't as
it's like a weird-
viscous.
Corrugated,
Yeah, corrugated's a good word. Yeah.
slim corrugated thing. It is very airy on the inside.
Yeah. So like when you're cramming a bunch of shit into a box, like that's why mine has like some scuffing because it's making my box push out where it's almost like 3D, like a snake swallowed it. And it's like,
Yeah, I'm sure when this game came out, it was inside the box exactly how it needed to be. It's the same with DS's, like DS and 3DS boxes. Like they
Yeah.
are packed to minimalize any amount of space inside that box. It is perfect, and the second you take it out, you ain't getting that thing back in there correctly. It's not happening.
So keep that in mind when you're pricing this. But really quick, the Japanese version, hilariously cheap. I'm talking like $20, $30 complete, even with
Yeah, it's not
shipping
expensive.
from Japan. Like
I got mine for very cheap.
Complete in box for that price?
Yes.
I think I paid, if I remember right, I think I might have paid $10 or $15 for mine complete, and then I paid them like $20 for shipping.
Yep.
But then I bought that with some other stuff, so the shipping like bundled anyways. I think I bought it with my Famicom games. I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, the Japanese version is extremely, extremely cheap. So now that we got all the pricing out of the way, let's kind of get the table's thoughts on the collectability aspect of it. Brian, how about you give us your thoughts first?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely unique, and I'm a sucker for games with weird peripherals or just any sort of attachments. It's kind of my jam, but I don't have a copy of this game. I think $100, $120 in that range seems fair. It is Pokemon. It is an exclusive. It's got accessories with it, unique things. That being said, if you're buying this to play it, I don't think it's a great game to play. I think it's a product of its time. I am glad I got to experience it. I agree with Nate 100%. Seeing this as a kid and just being like, I need this. This is awesome. And didn't have a 64. I'm glad I got to experience it. I don't know if it's one I'm actively going to go out and buy. But for the right price, if I saw a decent looking box complete for $120, I'd pick it up. I think it's got things going for it. I don't think it's going to necessarily keep ticking. But like Barry said, how many immaculate copies are out there? Probably a handful. If you find an immaculate copy, snag it.
Because I'm sure there's copious amount of copies of this out there because it's very popular. But the amount of them that survived,
kids.
Yeah, it's always kids.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's not like, oh, maybe you got a collector. Like, if you bought this back in the day to play it, like you as a kid. That being said, I do prefer the Japanese box. I mean, just seeing that giant monstrosity weird thing sitting on my shelves got me chuckling over here. Like, I would probably snag the Japanese version. I think it looks cooler. I think the Pikachu throwing up the deuces is pretty cool. Again, it's even more unique than the English one, right? Especially for that price, like that's nothing. Like I get cheap. You can't play it, but this isn't necessarily a game I want to go back and play as it is. So I think, me personally, I would probably buy the import version of this.
I think it's a compelling argument. Like, I'm not going to probably go back and play this game again. It's not one I'm going to pull off the shelf to have a good time with. Japanese one presents beautifully, honestly.
Starters on the back, that's cool.
It also has an alternative
microphone
holder. You could put it on your neck. So I don't know if mine has one, but they call it the VRS.
Oh,
see, it's really unique box. I mean, hey, technically you get another Clippy. You get more of the Japanese version for less. Me personally, that's the thing. When I'm buying for my collection, it's like, am I going to play this, or do I just want to have it be shelf porn?
Oh, I do have it. Not only that, but it also comes with its own individual.
See, that's fucking cool.
Like, it's like
Japanese style.
It looks like a PC big box. And so inside of that is another plastic tray that has the cart.
That's cool.
So
yeah, I want the Japanese version after seeing this. Buy the Japanese version. I think it looks cooler. I think it's more unique. Again, this isn't something that once you play, you're going to play again. If you're just curious about playing it, I don't know if there's emulation for it. I don't see how that would work. So, I mean,
that is also, I think there's a lot of interesting little tidbits about this one specifically. It's like,
I don't have a foamy. Oh, well.
Hey, guess what? That box looks cool as shit on the shelf, and no one knows. Yeah, it's complete.
It's several different interesting points. Like, with this one, you're not just buying the game, you're buying the accessory for your console that you can only get with this game too. So if you're like an N64 completist, like, you do kind of need this game to have every peripheral accessory for it. So that's like a factor into the price too. Like, yeah, it's $115, $120, but you're not just buying the game. You're buying the N64 part too.
Do you know, does the Japanese VRU work for the English version?
It does not, because it holds different words.
That's right. Okay.
It's Japanese words it's holding, so it only works for the train simulator game.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There's another argument to buy the 64 in the Japanese version. Like, you can use it in another game. I don't know. For me, I eventually want to pick one up because it is an exclusive and it is a Pokemon game.
Is the 64 region locked?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, buy the Japanese version. It looks cooler. You get more shit. It's more unique. That's my take. I'll get a Japanese version for $50 shipped. Why not? Fuck it.
You don't have to pay that much, dog. You pay $30, you get $20, you can get one shipped to you.
So I'm saying shipping's going to be $20-$25, but
Yeah, shipping by itself is like 20.
I bought a 50-cent from Japan. Do you think I'm worried about $20 shipping for this big-ass Pokemon box? Yeah, get the Japanese version's my take.
Barry, as an avid Pikachu fan / collector, what's your take?
That's the reason I own this. If I am like, I know there's like 1,000 fucking Pokemon, but like my favorite one is Pikachu, and I'm unashamed of that. People are like, oh, why is your favorite Pokemon like the main mascot Pokemon? I'm like, because he's fucking cute. Like, leave me alone. He's my Pokemon.
If you're going to sit there and dog someone for liking Pikachu, I'm going to cut a promo on you for a minute. Like, listen, Pikachu is iconic as, like, in America as Coca-Cola is. Like, Pikachu is beyond just a cute Pokemon. Like, he represents everything beautiful about this world, man. Like, look how fucking adorable he is, and he can kick your ass, too, and he can be your best fucking friend. Like, if you got shit to talk about Pikachu, like, fuck you. I don't want you to listen to this anyway, so go on, Barry.
Like,
or he could be murdering Oddishes and being man in a suit.
Pikachu's a fucking killer, bro.
Right.
He's all right.
Like, Pikachu's like my absolute favorite. I love Pikachu ever since I was a kid. I tried to sit here and lie to myself and say I had a different favorite Pokemon, but like, no, it's Pikachu. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, my favorite is some fucking obscure Pokemon that nobody else has a favorite of. Just to, I guess, not say that Pikachu's... I don't know. Like, I guess call me basic. Pikachu's my favorite Pokemon. I've got a Pikachu shrine over here.
Spider-Man's my favorite superhero. Like, get at me. I don't care.
I mean, to me, like, our parents know what Pikachu is. They can't name any other fucking Pokemon.
Everybody knows who
Grandma
Pikachu
knows
is.
what a fucking Pikachu
and
is.
here's the thing.
And there's a reason for that. He's awesome.
Here's the benefit of having Pikachu as your favorite Pokemon is I can get hella Pikachu shit. I got a Pikachu 64. I got 4 different fucking Pikachu handheld devices. I've got big box Pikachu, little box Pikachu, Pikachu on literally everything.
Not a lot of Whalmer merch floating out there.
Yeah, not a lot of Whalmer merch. So you know what? I got Pikachu shit out my asshole right now. So like, yeah, I bought this because it's the Pikachu game. Like, this was the Pikachu game until... Actually, I don't even think there's another one. I mean, we had Let's Go Pikachu, but that was just kind of...
This is the... Pikachu's in the title, bro.
But
this
I mean, like,
the Pikachu game.
Like other than like Pokemon Yellow, like this is the Pikachu game. So I got it. Was it fun? Maybe with some friends, I guess. I don't know if I would sit there and be like, I'm gonna beat Hey You Pikachu. I'll be like, no, this is a fun game to probably have some drinks with someone and like try to get Pikachu to function properly. But I probably wouldn't own this unless it wasn't for Pikachu. I think it's a necessary piece for someone who says they are an N64 collector, because there are very few big box 64 games. This is one of them. We're not talking like there's only 3, but there's a significantly lower amount than standard. And then not only that, but like big box that comes with accessories. That's not just a rumble pack or a memory card. Like, this is a proprietary peripheral for this game that is only for this game on the 64. No other game uses it, so it's also a necessity if you're... I get 64 accessories, so that being said, with the popularity combined with what all comes in it and the necessary pieces for it, and the fact that it does have the only VRU game for the console, it being $100 is pretty cheap. Mm-hmm. For North America.
Yeah.
If you're mixing and matching foreign and North America and when you live here or whatever, like, just buy the Japanese one if you don't care. But if you want an NTSC one, like $120 for this in a box really is not that big of a deal, all things considered. I mean, if we want to talk about something comparison, it's Seaman on the Dreamcast.
It's way more expensive.
And it's, I mean, there's probably less of them out there, but it's the same idea. It's a big box that has a microphone. You have to use it to play the game. And it's a lot more expensive than this.
I think as far as a collectible, like, this has more...
not as popular. Yeah.
For it.
First appearance of Togepi.
Yeah.
Get it graded.
So I on my personal... Like, I'm not a 64 person. I have 2 games. It's this one and it's Ogre Battle. I don't own any other 64 games because I don't care about 64. But I want Pikachu. I think I would have bought this even if I didn't have a 64, and that's super rare for me. But you know what? Fortunately for me, they make 3 different Pikachu consoles, so I have that too. Like, the only reason I bought this is because it's Pikachu. Like, they knew what they were doing. This wasn't like, hey, you Charmander, it's Pikachu. The Pokemon Company's not dumb. When they put Pikachu on anything, it will sell, and that's exactly what happens. And you know what? You can call me a sheep, but I don't care.
I'm still holding out for Hey You Gloom, but I don't think we're ever going to get it. Yeah, I think either way you go, Japan or NTSC, this is like 100% worth it to me. So Japanese version is so cheap. Like, I think it's kind of fool. I'm gonna probably order one. I didn't realize it was that cheap until I was looking into it. I figured it would kind of took a jump. So I remember when Barry bought hers. It was a little while ago. I was like, damn, that's cheap. It's still fucking cheap, and like everything's crazy expensive nowadays. And I was like, I'm gonna probably order a Japanese one once we get off this episode. It's that cheap. So as far as the NTSC American one, like, I think you're talking spin-off Pokemon game. Everything Pokemon just kind of keeps going up, even if it's common as piss. We're talking Yellow's like $300 complete in box now, and like, I think you do have the same contributing factor of like, did it survive with Pokemon Yellow and Blue and Red? But like, there's so fucking many of them, and the cart's like $65 for Pokemon Red and Blue now. Like,
well, it's interesting that this piece doesn't have a resurgence game as popular as Pokemon is. I mean, they're kind of trying to do some new things right now, but with the ability of, and I think someone had put this in a review or something recently where like they should have remade this game for the 3DS, which absolutely is true because it had a built-in microphone. But I don't really see why they wouldn't come out with something in the future that uses voice commands for it. And Nintendo's weird though, because like the Switch doesn't have a built-in mic. I don't think, does it?
You got to use your phone for the app online to like communicate.
Okay, so I mean, you can plug in a headset. Like if they were like, hey, plug in a headset and you can use the microphone to like play this game, that would be fine. But I feel like this game, if they ever did any kind of new Hey You Pikachu, the price of this would go up just for the sake of it.
There's spiritual sequels to this game. Like Pokemon Channel is made by the same company development team, and it's similar, but
it's Pokemon Channel though. It's not Pikachu.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's not. I don't want to sit here and say it's a direct sequel, but you can tell it's very inspired by some of the mechanics and elements of this game, and kind of almost how it functions. But again, you don't sit there and talk into a microphone on Pokemon Channel.
I think their last chance of possibly doing something for this was on the 3DS, and now that they're not doing handhelds with any kind of built-in mic, it's hard for me to. I mean, the PlayStation 5 has a built-in mic on the controller, so like, what's to say Nintendo might not do this in the future with their next console of implementing something like that, and then banking off the popularity of Pikachu again with the fact that you could probably DLC hundreds of Pokemon in your, I don't know, DLC, whatever. Like, the amount of money that they could possibly make off of a feature Hey You Pikachu is insane.
It is insane. I mean,
so if they ever did that, I know this would go up.
That's a fast. You kind of brought up the 3DS. Like, we had Nintendogs. They didn't decide we should do a Pokemon version of this. Like,
it's a good point.
What the fuck were you thinking?
They had Rumble.
Yeah,
did Rumble use it? The microphone?
I don't think so.
I don't think it used anything like that.
Development team's last game was the Rumble series.
Right.
So, like,
we had Rumble, we had Mystery Dungeon.
Poke Park
was on the Wii.
But it kind of, again, almost like a spiritual sequel to this.
Right.
But again, same development team too, which is kind of hilarious. They had opportunities to do their own fucking thing and didn't do it.
Now, I will say they did have the remake of Pokemon Snap, and that was pretty successful.
Oh, the sequel, yeah.
So.
It's great.
Yeah.
I think this is a little bit of a product of its time too.
Mm-hmm.
It's a glorified Tamagotchi. So I think that might have a little bit to do with it, but those are coming back too, so who the fuck knows?
Yeah, I think honestly is pure collectible. Just has so much going for it, man. Like $120, like if you like Pokemon at all, if you like N64 at all, you're almost foolish not to buy this game because there's other games just as common, if not more common, that cost more. Like Star Fox is getting a comparable price point now, and that game's fucking everywhere. I see that game complete in box all the time. I see far less actual complete Hey You Pikachus than Star Fox, and I clearly think Pokemon being the most successful franchise of anything of all time has more going for it than any other Nintendo property, to be honest. Like, really, I could even say any property of anything. Like, nothing's more successful or popular than Pokemon.
I mean, the only thing that's more so is Mario.
Not like financially, but there's a lot more shit involved with Pokemon.
I think
Mario.
As a cultural icon, Mario is bigger.
Really?
Yes. I mean, Mario's got...
You associate Nintendo, the first thing you think of is Mario.
Mario's got their own damn amusement parks.
Pokemon
doesn't have that yet. Pokemon is not synonymous with Nintendo like Mario is.
It's almost like separate.
But it's the same thing as like Mickey Mouse now isn't as popular as some of the other Disney properties, but like it is...
Still
the most iconic.
Still the House of Mouse.
Here's the thing.
Yes.
The only argument I'll make to that, there's a Pokemon company that's part of Nintendo. It's so popular. It's its own fucking brand. And there's not a Mario company. Like, Nintendo makes Mario.
It's because of the cards, though, man.
Yeah,
I mean, they're bigger on a different scale, but in terms of, like, iconic...
Yeah.
It's
culturally Mario's bigger, but financially Pokemon probably makes more money.
Yeah.
Factually, Pokemon makes more money than everything. So, but yeah, I guess at the point you're making, like, you think Nintendo, you're still going to think Mario over...
I mean, I suppose Pokemon is, like, overall, it makes so much more money for a lot of different reasons. But like,
Yeah.
if Mario, they have honed down Mario so much, like they don't have 1,000 bajillion different Mario characters that people need to recognize. They're
Right.
just like, oh, that's Toad, that's Mario, that's a Goomba. Like, you've got your 5-6 characters that you showed a kid, they probably would be like, that's for Mario. But then like show them some random Pokemon and they'd be like, I don't know what that is.
Probably know it's a Pokemon though.
Maybe.
Maybe. You could be like some random RPG thing I gotta fight too. So
It could be a fucking Spectrobe thing. I don't
Right.
know. Like, there's so many wild ones. I mean, if you talk about the most popular ones, yeah, they're gonna know who that is. But if we want to talk about percentage wise of the accessible number of recognizable characters, like Mario's just more iconic.
Sure.
It always has been.
I think if you're thinking like in comic book collecting terms, like, you know, Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, always going to be collectible. Even random mass issues aren't going to be $1 because of who they are. I think Pikachu has the same aspect going for it. Like, you're going to pay more.
Pikachu, yes.
Yeah, so you're going to pay more for Pokemon Yellow than Red and Blue because fucking Pikachu's on. Even though there's a million more of them.
There's a reason I have Hey You Pikachu and not Pokemon Snap.
Yeah.
I want Pikachu.
Like, so I think that you have to kind of factor that in with this too. I think $120 is super reasonable for a Pokemon. I mean, look at other stuff in the era and throw the Pikachu sparkle on it, and this is pretty cheap, all things considered, especially being in a weird box. And
I'll say this too: you can get, you know, shelf-worthy copies of this game for $120. It's not the torn to shit ones going for $120. $120 can get you.
I mean, honestly, of late,
yeah.
Like I said, I averaged to get that price. There was one selling for $90 that looked pretty damn good. You get this game for under $100 like all day.
I agree with that.
Pokemon game, console Pokemon game complete.
I'm comfortable around 100, 120 bucks.
Do you know how much a VRU goes for by itself?
It's around 40 when I looked at it. Let me
Just
see.
by itself.
That's wild. Really?
That's not awful.
Surprised though, because most people that are buying this probably bought the cart for $3 and they bought that to play it. So you're still spend $30 more and get the box.
Oh, they're way less than that now. You can get them for $15-$20 now.
Okay, I was about to say.
So I mean, you could get a
$30 you can buy this
almost
game.
complete box of Hey You Pikachu without a VRU and pick up an extra. It's not like the VRU is like serialized per
Right.
box.
So it's just the VRU by itself without the microphones, even cheaper. It's like
so
10,
just to play this
15.
game's like $30.
Yeah, if you buy them separately, and if you're gonna people will buy them together, it's a little more. It's like $30, but
I mean, you
that's with
got
the microphone, the clip, and the fuzz at the end.
Yeah.
If it's just straight up microphone without fuzz, it's just VR by itself. I mean, we're talking $15-$20. And then an $8 cart, you throw some shipping in there, you're spending $25.
I mean, like
$30.
most
Yeah.
digital games are in that range. So, like, if you just want to play an exclusive 64 title that's Pokemon related for $20, why the hell not?
And I think Brian threw an interesting point. This isn't a game you can like easily emulate.
Yeah,
So,
No.
like, if you want to play it, you do have to kind of own it. So,
you
I
gotta
think
pay to play.
that's kind of a special little attribute of this game as far as a collecting standpoint.
Yeah, I will say with the voice recognition words being built into the VRU and not the game itself, you can't really like ROM hack it
Right.
and pull it up and just use your microphone on your computer because it won't recognize anything. And I know they make N64 controller converter cables
Mhm.
that go to USB, but I don't think they work in the same way. Because so when you set up a VRU on the N64, you have to plug it into the 4th slot. It's the only slot that the game will recognize it being there. You can't put it in player 2 or player 3 or player. Like, it has to be in slot 4. So something in that, it needs to be in slot 4. So I don't know if anybody's ever tried to do it on PC with a conversion cable and an emulator. I'd be curious to look up videos to see if anybody has attempted it.
I'm going to say doubt. Well, I'll eat my own words if I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but
It's
it's
probably how Skynet takes over.
maybe. But yeah, I think it's a really good point as far as saying this game is definitely worth it to me. Like, I'm an avid Pokemon fan. I want to own all the Pokemon games, and glad I finally got to play this one. I don't know if I'm ever cracking it open again to play it, because it's not like I think Barry said it best. You got some friends like we did, sit there and like we actually had a pretty good time with it. It wasn't the gameplay, it was like the moment to moment, like laughing at the shit, and like all of our faces when Pikachu ate that fucking Oddish is like, that's a pretty fine little memory for me. So like, if I would have cracked this one myself, I wouldn't have had nearly the same experience. But if you're into Pokemon at all, you're into Pikachu at all, like, get some friends together, yell and scream at it, have a good time. Like, this was totally worth the money for that. I only paid $30 for this, I think, at the time. So
But as a collectible in and of itself without gameplay, yeah.
yeah,
It's much more of a collectible than a game.
And I
I'll
think
say
that's-
that.
If this was the exact same game, but it wasn't Pikachu and it was some whatever brand of, I'd be like, hell no. No.
Yoshi.
I guess, but I don't like Yoshi like I like
Right.
Pikachu. I don't.
I think this has a lot more going for it, given the fact that it is a Pikachu-centric game. This is his first solo game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think as a collectible, it's totally worth it. 100%.
Agree.
Well, hey, you all. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Collecti-Bros podcast. If you liked what you heard, check us out on all of our social platforms. Facebook, Twitter, for now. We'll say that forever. Instagram, TikTok. Check us out on those if you liked what you heard. Could kick it over to Brian to tell us what we got next cooking up on the Collecti-Bros podcast. Brian, what do we got?
Yeah, next episode derived from a conversation you and I had while mindlessly boosting this shitty game, but it's going to be about forgotten games or games you forgot about. It's going to be a topic of discussion where we're describing how games can get lost and forgotten, different eras. It's kind of different, but basically we've been on the hunt for one fucking game, and hopefully somebody out there knows what the fuck it is. That's what this boils down to, honestly. Hope y'all like DOS computer games.
Thanks for listening. We appreciate you all very much. Have a wonderful day.
Happy hunting and hope you catch them all.
Gotta collect them all.
I'm out. Dab on them.
Dab on them, guys.
You be Ryan's. Have fun. All right.
Sick dab, deep dab.
All right, that works.